that your IQ is...
Brain is your brain, and that's what you're given.
Exactly. Everybody, there's a mass hypnosis, that's a perfect word for it. There's this trance that basically says that your IQ is set, that your intelligence, your memory, your potential is somehow fixed like your shoe size. But here's the truth. We've discovered more about the human brain more in the past 10 years than the previous 1,000 years. And what we found, the latest research is saying, is we're grossly underestimating our capabilities, that we're so much faster and smarter than we think, or that we can think. And so the challenge is if you're stressed, if you're overloaded, if you're distracted, if you feel like you're losing your memory, it's not your fault. It's because we grew up with a 20th century education that prepared us for a 20th century world. And at the turn of this 20th century, it was working on farms, it was working in factories. And literally, it was assembly line education, cookie cutter, one size fits all, quit, sit quietly, don't talk to your neighbor, all those kind of rules, right? And the world we live in, though, is so different. We're talking about Elon Musk. Think about the world that he's helping to create. Autonomous electric cars, spaceships that are going to Mars, but our vehicle of choice when it comes to learning and education is like a horse and buggy. Because they say of Rip Van Winkle, the guy who slept for like decades, if he woke up today, the only thing he would recognize in our world are our schools. Because our schools haven't advanced. And this is not a slight against teachers. My mother became a teacher because she was trying to help me with my learning difficulties. My aunt's a professor. I have such a deep respect for educators, but the system hasn't changed as quickly. And so most people who are stressed and overloaded, overwhelmed, it's because we weren't prepared. Just like with entrepreneurs, where do they get financial literacy? Where do they get advice on leadership and negotiation, on sales and marketing? Where's that taught?
Yeah, entourage.
There you go. Exactly. So the two of us, we're filling in the gaps in terms of our education.
I absolutely love it. I find it so empowering that our beliefs actually form our intellectual capabilities. It's beautiful. Jim, for those watching at home or from their office, what are some sort of tips or tactics you could give them in terms of enhancing their intellect?
So let's start with everyone's memory. I always thought it should have been the fourth R in school. In school they teach you 3 R's: reading, writing, arithmetic. But what about retention? What about recall? What about remembering? Socrates said learning is remembering. And here's the thing, I do believe memory makes money, especially in business. I forgot being the 2 most costly words sometimes. It makes you look like you're not an expert. It makes you look like you're not capable of something, that you don't care. And that's not the message, the meta message we want to send to people. So let's say, for example, let's take remembering names. Because I think if there's one business etiquette networking skill to master, it's your ability to recall people's names and faces, right? So the challenge is you meet somebody, and as soon as the handshake breaks, the name just falls right to the floor. Or if it's not a short-term issue, it's a long-term issue. It's like you're going about your business, you're at a conference, you're at the gym, somebody taps you on your shoulder, and you see somebody you recognize, but for the life of you, you don't remember who this person is, right? Or you don't remember where you know this person from. And what makes it worse is when that person has the audacity your tongue, but you can't get it out. Client information, it's something to talk about on stage or in front of a business meeting in a boardroom. One of 3 things is usually missing. And I say, remember mom. Remember your mom. M-O-M. So let's say somebody has trouble remembering names, but there's a suitcase here of $1 million in your currency. If you just remember the person's name of the next stranger you meet, how many people are going to remember that person's name for $1 million cash? Everybody, right? Everybody. Everybody's a memory expert. Now, what technique did they use? No memory technique. M stands for motivation, right? So as a brain coach, I need to be able to call, just like as a personal trainer, you need to be able to call people on their stuff, right? And the truth is, they're capable of it most of the time, but they just don't want to. Because so notice, nobody remembers everybody's name, right? Including myself, but nobody forgets everyone's name either. And think about genius leaves clues. I always tell that to people, genius leaves clues. When somebody's really great at something, they're doing something other people aren't doing. And so I would say if somebody's doing really great with somebody, find out how. And so here's the thing, you remember people's names who you're attracted to. You remember somebody who could be a whale of a client because you're motivated. So ask yourself, why do I want to remember this person's name? Maybe it's to show a person respect. Maybe it's to make a deal. Maybe it's to make a new friend. Maybe it's to practice these tips, that I learned through the entourage. Something. Here's the thing, reasons reap results. You can't come up with a reason, you won't get the result. The O, and everyone can do this at home. So the O is this. Take your right hand and shake it out. Everyone do this. Just shake out your right hand like this, and just watch me and do this. Make a fist, and then put it to your chin. Now where's your chin? Everybody does this too. Everybody. I do this in front of an audience of 10,000 people. Everyone will go like this. O stands for observation. Observation. A lot of people blame their memory on their retention. It's not your retention, it's your attention. And how's it come back to remember names? A lot of people are not forgetting the name, they're not hearing the name. Even if you write, so I got to spend some time with President Bill Clinton. And the second time I met him, we're at a charity event, 2,000 people. I guess that right next to him was me. It was me, and then it was Forrest Whitaker, the Academy Award winning actor, the Sir Richard Branson, Ashton Kutcher, Ashton's twin brother, and then Bill Clinton. And that was the table. And I posted this picture on Instagram. It's like who photoshopped that Asian dude on the table. But when he sat down, he was like, Jim, how you doing? I was like, wow, you remember my name. It's like we had a 30-second conversation before. You remember my name, remember like a couple things we talked about, and it was just like amazing. He's got incredible memory. Regardless of what people think about politics, great charisma, great connector, great memory. And I noticed when he was looking at me, talking to me, he wasn't paying attention to anybody else in the room. There's a lot more important people at the table, but he was looking right at me. Like a lot of times in business events, people are looking over your shoulder and everything else, or you can tell they're distracted. But he was completely here. And I noticed his incredible memory and his powerful presence. I feel like it comes from being powerfully present. You know what I mean? His incredible memory, his powerful presence with people comes from being powerfully present. And you're like that too. I noticed when we met, it's like we have a connection. And that's what people really want. They don't want your gifts. They want to feel understood. They want to feel like you're there. That they have your time and attention. So just be present with people. Even if you take the word listen and you write it down, everybody who's watching this, scramble the letters. It spells one more word perfectly. It spells the word silent. So just be there, be silent. And then the third thing is the third letter, the M in mom, stands for mechanics. And these are not the person that fixes your car, but the tools, the techniques, the strategies, kind of things we put in our podcast. The quick tips, the strategies on how to learn language, how to give a speech without notes, how to remember things word for word, how to learn facts and figures and all that stuff, how to speed read and read 3 times faster. Those are the mechanical skills. The only reason I put motivation there because human psychology, positive psychology, adult learning theory says you need to understand. I was doing this presentation in Silicon Valley. I get off stage and Bill Gates comes up to me. And I always ask everybody, if you have any one superpower, what would it be? And he looks at me, the ability to read faster. And then Warren Buffett actually said to me, he's like, I probably wasted 10 years of my life reading slowly. Because leaders are readers, right? And I was like, and Bill said, the superpower reading faster. I was like, I totally help you with that. And we started having this deep conversation about education, the future of education, and the big crowd gathering around us, right? And I'm talking from an adult learning, accelerated learning, meta learning standpoint. And he's coming from a technology standpoint, from his superpower. And somebody asked a question, who was listening, saying, what's missing? Is it just technology and theory? And we talked about it, and you're like, we know what's missing. We came up with the same answer, human motivation. Because a lot of people know what to do, but they don't always do what they know. Because common sense is not common practice. And understanding what drives people to make change, right? And so for me, it's like thinking about, what's people's motivation for taking action. I think that's really important. And so that's why the motivation is so key. And then the observation is just paying attention. We remember things. We had I was running a marathon, right? And I was preparing for it. I read one chapter in a book on psychology that it said this word for word, literally word for word, because I'm a memory guy, right? And it said, your brain is like a supercomputer and your self-talk is a program it will run. So if you tell yourself you're not good at remembering names, you will not remember the name of the next person you meet because you program your supercomputer not to. And that's why people have to be very cognizant of their self-talk. And so motivation and observation are 2 of the biggest keys. And then learn the mechanical skills, the techniques, kind of things that we put in our podcast and our online programs, the kind of conversations we're having right now.
That's really, really powerful. Jim, there's a hell of a lot of people watching this that do want to follow you.